Yeah. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Down by the Bayou. I am your host, Jess, Otis Boudreaux, and I am joined today by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Coach Brian Craven. Um, Go ahead and say hello, Coach. I'm thrilled to have you here.
Oh, it's good to be here, buddy. I think you and I haven't been on a show together since like your rookie year. I did that prospect profile thing, and we chatted then. That was fun. I'm looking forward to this. Um, every time I'm on somebody's show now, they seem to set this bar for me that I'm not sure I can achieve. Maybe myth and legend in my own mind, but I'll try to live up to that.
well,
Uh,
I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say. I mean, you've got a positive reputation not only as a teammate, but also a mentor and a coach, and so I think that all kind of ties in together. What I want to do today with this episode is kind of just run through some conversation. I'm going to ask Coach some questions. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. Bear with us as we go through this. Um, First off, let's go ahead and get this monkey out of the way, as they say. Um, Season 16 started. I knew you. I'm going to back up. I
mhm.
knew you as Lone Star Glory. I don't know if that was if the season I joined the league, season 15 was the first season for LSG. It seems like it was either your first or second season, but to me that was kind of like it was a second one. Okay,
Yeah.
seemed like that was. I mean, you were LSG. You know when I thought of that team, you had Dave and the other ones that moved in there at the time that I was there or with that draft. But you guys, I mean, when I thought Lone Star Glory, I thought Coach. I mean, that was kind of hand in hand. Um, Season 16 starts. I still kind of see that cohesion there, but then something happened, and so kind of give us your take on all of that.
Well, frankly, in a lot of ways, I have to take the credit or blame for that not continuing. Um, and I haven't said it exactly this way publicly. I wasn't loud enough, wasn't vocal enough, didn't stand up for myself enough about what I wanted. Uh, at the end of season 15, we brought in Greg, and we knew we were losing Liam Hammer, and and he was a great receiver, and Greg had a great receiver, and blah blah blah. And Greg wanted to be an offensive coordinator, and I don't remember if it was asked if I was okay with it or not. It probably was, but I wasn't okay with just handing over the reins. I'd only had a season of being the offensive coordinator, and we had we've been building things, we've been putting things together. Ike Spilled was coming along nicely. Uh, Dave was progressing. Everything was
Right.
coming along nice. I felt like I'd only had a season, and I wasn't really ready to give that up. We didn't really clarify how things were going to work. And then partway into season 16, Charles said, "Hey, turn over the playbook. Greg's the offensive coordinator. Do head coach stuff." And I was like, I didn't really, okay, good soldier. I'm always going to be a good soldier. And I did that. And then for me, where it went sideways was, listen, if y'all don't think that Bill Belichick doesn't once in a while say, I don't like that play, get that effing play out of the playbook, you're kidding yourself. That's what a head coach does. Where I come
Right.
from in coaching high school, the head coach is running something,
Right.
and I wasn't really doing anything. At one point I felt like we weren't using Adam enough. And I was like, listen, let's get these are the plays, these formations are taking Adam completely out of the game. I'd like to see him out. Instead, we added more. And I was like, and I said, too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm backing out. And I probably was a little too adamant about it, or a little too vocal about it. And yeah. So that was kind of what went there, but it was like, listen, I didn't want this. I wanted, I wanted to have my hand on the tiller another season at least, you know. And so for me, that's where it went sideways. And I want to be clear, I'm not putting blame on Charles or Greg or anything. Like I said, I put the blame on me because I wasn't clear enough that this is not what I want. Now, if they at that point had said, well, this is what we want, okay, now we know where we're going, and I can make a decision at that point. But so that's the full story. That's the most clear story. As a head coach, I was really just a figurehead. I wasn't doing anything, didn't have any input, and there wasn't any point. My player is secondary to me in my experience in the SFL. So,
well, and so I knew in the latter parts of the season that you weren't happy. You and I talked quite a bit about even the possibility of you leaving the SFL.
I thought about it.
Yeah, and so we have you, we have Doug, Cam, the three amigos, the Bash brothers, and that whole kind of package deal. And so you guys made the decision to become free agents, and which for people that weren't paying attention, it was a real shock. I think if people kind of saw the changes that were occurring in the front office responsibilities and stuff, it didn't catch as many of us off guard as
sure,
is others. But the three of you together, so you hit free agency and pretty much made it clear that you guys were a package deal.
Yeah.
The three of you wanted to stay together. So I know when, and I'm going to throw myself in this because it happened to me, when you have players that have kind of that total package. And what I mean by that is a good player on the field and a good person off the field. When that hits free agency, it's a clamor. I mean, when I announced my free agency, my DMs blew up. I mean, it was just like, bam. And I had people, that morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, DMing me and saying, hey, you want to come and kick for us? And, so you have to go through that process of deciding what you're going to do. So not only did you have to decide what you were going to do as far as your free agency plans, you had to decide whether or not you were going to stay in the league. So kind of what happened that made you change from, and I know this from the conversations, but I think it's really good to share this. What changed to go from saying, I think I'm going to leave to I'm back in free agency and I'm loving every minute of it?
The biggest change was, first of all, everybody knows Ross and I are tight. Ross and I we talked a lot. He checked in all the time. He started at San Jose with me, told me he was getting drafted by Louisiana when he did beforehand. Ross is my friend, and Ross and I actually talked about all of this. I actually DM'd Ross and said, hey, am I overreacting to this with the coaching thing? And I thought it was a safe move because Louisiana didn't have, I didn't see openings happening in Louisiana, right? I wasn't looking for something else. I wasn't interested in something else. I was in a DM chatting with someone else and asked them if I was overreacting. And those are the two things. I was just like, am I overreacting to this? And they didn't feel like I was. So then you move forward, and this is like you said, I was LSG for life. When I talk about leaving the league, it was like, well, if I'm not LSG, what am I in the league? And so that was the transition that had to happen, and it was people like Ross, Mike Percoco in Vancouver. Once it was out and everyone knew that I wasn't going to be with Lone Star and could be a free agent. Then I chatting with other people and they're like, don't just leave the league. If you do leave the league, don't leave the server. Just give it, And I thought about even just, not being a player and just doing my show,
Right.
just having a little fun. Right.
Yeah. I remember
weighed,
we had that conversation,
yeah, I had weighed all of that. But then when the interest started rolling in and the package deal thing, if Cam or Doug had wanted to go somewhere, and I said this on Ashley's show, they had, I mean, Cam's a hell of a fullback. He had people interested. Right. Doug had people interested. I would have understood. But Cam joined the league. Cam's my buddy from way back. He joined the league to do something with me. And Doug said, well, if you go, I go, and I just, with them showing me that kind of loyalty, I had some offers and I was like, I appreciate that very much. That's a nice offer. Do you have room for my friends? I talked to one team. I said, I'll mothball my player and just be a coach if you got room for my friends. And so, yeah, once that was going on, I thought, then my mind opened up to, I didn't have to be wearing red and blue. I could be, could be somewhere else. So,
yeah, and I think you hit a real important point there, and Gerald and I talked about this. I mean, they were friends with me before I ever considered leaving Vegas. I mean, we were friends, and we would talk about stuff. And when I was considering that myself, I kind of did the same thing. I talked to quite a few people saying, hey, am I seeing this the way that I'm seeing it based off of my perception? Because the truth is, perception is reality. The way we perceive something, that's our reality. And so I wanted someone else to tell me, this is what I'm seeing. This is what my perception is. Am I reading it wrong? And it was never a conversation about, hey, we want you to leave Vegas and join us. It was always, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a few days. Everything okay? That kind of stuff. And so, I think that communication, those relationships are a huge part of this. So now you're in free agency. You're talking to teams. Louisiana, and Gerald and I talked about this, about how it kind of fell into place that he had these openings. Why did you choose to come down to Louisiana?
Well, like I mentioned, Ross and I are friends. And it's funny because Doug and I used to play the what if game. What if we weren't at Lone Star? And Louisiana was never on the equation. Well, okay, let me back up. Well, Louisiana, and that was if a certain couple of people weren't there.
Gotcha.
Just because we didn't, we just didn't want to share a locker room with them.
Right. Understand.
So, yeah, but Ross and I are friends, and Gerald and I've said many times, Gerald is the guy that gave me the key to unlocking, putting together a playbook that works. Charles got on a call with him, and I was listening in, and we were talking about stuff, and then Gerald and I talked about stuff, and hey, I've also said this before. The old timers don't give you that information. They say you got to find that, you got to figure that out for yourself. I get it. I don't blame him for it. But Gerald was like, yeah, here's what you do, and he's the guy that started explaining how certain formations will take over. You got to have a counter to them, or you got to not have them in, or you got to find it elsewhere. And so a lot of respect for Gerald. And I didn't really know anybody else really well in Louisiana, but I knew them. Well, I know Mike Twinscrew quite well. Robo is Dave's friend. Dave's my friend. If he's Dave's friend, he must be a decent guy. Things like that. But it came down to Ross and Gerald for the most part, and Mike, and it was like, yeah, that'd be fun. And then Mike, and this is the thing, and I was really, when Ross called me, well, first of all, he DM'd me. I'm at a going away dinner, because I'm leaving Oregon soon. I'm at a going away dinner with my niece, and Ross DMs me, can we talk? And I was like, Ross, the wheeler dealer made something happen, whatever. And I said something to my niece, and she's like, yeah, go ahead. So it's all right. So I take that call. And the first thing I was like, well, no, wait a minute. Mike's been doing the offense. I don't want to push him aside. Right. So I DM'd Mike, and Mike was like, I want this. I want you guys to come over here. I want to work on defense. He wants to be a well-rounded coach, and he wants to know all that stuff. And I was like, okay. And we had a lot of really nice offers. I was surprised because I thought the package deal thing, and I completely understood that's a lot to ask a team to make room for three of us. And we had some offers. Some of them wanted Cam to move to tight end, which he's completely willing to do. We had some nice offers. In fact, we had a couple. We were like, this one or that. That's not bad at all. Maybe we're going to do that. And then, of course, Louisiana came in, and then another team made a last minute pitch. And it was really hard. I don't enjoy free agency. I don't like saying no to my friends. I said no to some really great people, and I was just like, oh, I hate doing that,
Yep.
But yeah, we had a couple of those things come up, and but that was the number one thing I wanted to do, is I wanted to make darn sure that Mike wasn't getting pushed aside, because he deserved better than that. And I didn't think Gerald and Ross would do that to him, but I wanted to make sure. And then it was, and Cam didn't care. Well, he cared, but he was like, hey, lead the way. Doug, we sat in the living room and talked, like, well, what do you think? Pros and cons. And in fact, Doug, one of the teams, it was Doug that was kind of like, I don't have the feel for it. I said, okay,
Yeah.
So yeah, Louisiana, we never blinked, and for us, that was pretty clear. That's the way to go. That was a rather wordy answer. I apologize, but
no, I think, and I think it's real important that, especially for the younger players in the league, and I guess I even kind of put myself in that because this is my third season, but we understand that process. I mean, when I thinking about when I was on free agency, and people were DMing me and talking to me about joining their team, these are guys that I consider to be good friends, and when you're typing no, it hurts. I mean, because you're just like, you're my friend, and I love that part of this, but like you said, that feel, and when and making I think the other thing for me, at least, making the decision to become a free agent was tough. I talked to you about it. And I tried to stay away from people that might have an interest in all of it.
Yep.
And you and I have had conversations since I was in the minor leagues, because I trusted your input and your impartiality. And my wife, who is wonderful, and she's like, oh, I love you doing this because you enjoy it. And I would sit there and say, what should I do? And she would just kind of nod her head and say, do what you want, dear. But she listened and kind of let me talk through things. But it was a tough decision. And I think making the decision to go somewhere, I think that word you said, that phrase you said, it feels right.
Yeah.
There were teams that I looked at and I was like, I can see myself there.
Sure.
But Louisiana just felt right. And so I think that was a big part of it. So here we are, all in the locker room together.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? But we've got a preseason game. What is it, tomorrow night? Yeah, Friday night.
Yeah.
Yep, against San Diego. First time we get to see ourselves on the field together, and that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Actually, see my jersey on me and Otis instead of this one.
Well, I can see it right now. I got a sim running in the background, but it's it's different.
As long as I don't miss any kicks. I mean,
you have not yet. You hit a 56-yarder earlier.
There we go.
Holy crap! Yeah.
Yeah, it's and so here we are getting ready for season 17. What do you think? What do you see us doing?
We got a good team. Listen, I've never had a running back like Reggie Streeter to work with.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding.
And Cam blocking for him is pretty fantastic. It's funny. One thing, just a little vague X's and O's here. With Ike, who I loved having Ike as a running back. Loved having that power back build and whatnot. With Ike, Cam could actually get 2 or 3 blocks sometimes on a running play because she wasn't like blazingly faster than he is. With Reggie, Cam gets 1 block because Reggie's already passed. Cam knocks that first guy out, and Reggie, boom, and he's passed. So it's like, good job, Cam. You know, he's gonna, if we tracked pancakes, he'd have fewer of them this season than he's ever had. But that's a lot of fun, and it makes things easier. If you know your running back's a threat to score, that makes things easier. Working with our guys, it is different. It's a little bit different. I had such fully developed receivers in I almost said San Jose, in Lone Star, that I could do quite a bit with the passing game. I've got to finesse it a little bit more here.
Right.
But the nice thing is when you look at the progression track, we're right there. We're going to be right there. Robo is tearing it up. He's actually, people may not know, Robo's really, at the end of the season, I think he's going to be maxed on all of his attributes. He's just going to have a fantastic build. The other guys, Frank is doing great stuff for us. I'm enjoying it a great deal. I make fun of kickers and punters. I'm sure you've heard that. I say any position that I can walk 2 practice fields over and to the soccer field and find a disgruntled player and fill with that isn't a football player, but it's a joke because they are so useful. When we don't get first downs, having Jeff's player to pin them deep is fantastic. Yep. There's a lot of fun stuff here. It's fun. I think our schedule is as forgiving as a schedule can be, and somebody might take offense to that. All I'm saying is there's some teams on our schedule that are in transition, right, and they have some things to deal. It's not like last season. You see Denver, you go, oh crap. You knew Baltimore was defending champs. You knew Florida was going to be good. You see those things, and we don't have a lot of those just clear cut. That's a juggernaut. There's some transition in place. Yep. For several teams on our schedule. It's not an easy schedule. Like, we could very easily go south of 500 if we don't take it seriously. But it is about as forgiving as can be expected in the SFL now. I like our team. I like the way we're built, and I like the direction we're trending. It looks good. It looks really good. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's funny having a quarterback that's maxed out on speed when he scrambles. Ace, God bless him. He wasn't in the minors long enough to just throw points on everything. Ace didn't take off and run a whole lot. When Tommy takes off and runs, something might actually happen. So
we're looking more at kind of a Lamar Jackson in transition as opposed to a Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If only the playbook in this game would allow us to work with that. In 2007, you weren't seeing that happen in the NFL. This game's not set up for it. So unfortunately we can't take advantage. I'd be running zone read all day long if we had zone read in this game, but we don't.
Well, I think that I agree with you. I like the number one. I love the camaraderie there. That
Hmm.
locker room is just on fire,
Yeah.
and even now when we're in the midst of the off season, I mean that place is jumping
Hmm.
every day, and everybody seems to have the same focus.
Yeah.
It's let's get better, let's do this as a team, and
Hmm.
everybody kind of fits into their slot. And just for clarification, kickers, we don't walk anywhere because you don't want to damage the good. That's what that air conditioned golf cart's for.
Yeah.
You
I completely understand that.
you know, I looked at the schedule and I can see, as you said, I can see us easy going 8-4. I can
Mhm.
just as easy see us going 4-8.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
The
mean,
talent's there. The
yeah,
talent's there for those teams. It really, and I think part of the reason that I said transition, and I'm going to be doing a show next week, a draft recap. And we saw some teams go. We saw some teams go with fit a lot more than I've seen. Well, last season perhaps.
right,
When we saw some people draft and sign free agents that fit their culture and their vibe, and they weren't as concerned with builds and that player value and all of that stuff. And that's good. I'm 100% for that. The player over the player, the person over the player every time, right? Having said that, on the field, on legendary setting, builds really, really, I feel like they really matter.
right.
I mean, case in point, I mentioned some of the things with the receivers and stuff. We have very good receivers at Louisiana, but we don't have anyone that's like maxed out like I had with Greg Soto and
Right.
Adam Williams and Liam Hammer before that. We don't have anybody like that yet, and so you have to work a little bit. And that's the thing. I look at some of these other teams and I see, okay, they took a safety and moved him to corner. Nice value, but he's still okay. He's not.
Right.
He was maxed as a safety over here, but as a corner, that speed being an example, not maxed in speed, he's going to have to progress that, or
Right.
the other way. He was a corner. Now he's got to get his tackle up, right? Things like that, little things like that, and that might seem like I'm splitting hairs or but I really, really think builds in legendary are really important. And so that's why I say when I look at some of these teams, I see some transition. They've just gotta progress. They need
Yeah.
some time to progress.
And I
That's
think
it.
that's a good point. When I was watching the draft, and I gotta say it, kickers going in, 3 kickers in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing. I think when the switch to legendary occurred, it caught some people off guard. There were
I do.
things that
Yes.
they could do in the lower settings and get away with, and the game was
Yes.
forgiving. It's not in legendary. So now there's got to be a mental shift for the coaches because the game is operating differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this draft was the first one we can say that, okay, the front offices are kind of starting to key in on what the game expects on a legendary setting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I agree completely.
looking
Yeah,
and
they
I'll use
last season they drafted under the old paradigm,
right, right,
and
and I
and this
and I
season is
think
like,
kickers are a prime example.
Mhm.
A maxed out kicker, generic kicker on legendary setting. Once you hit 40 yards, it's a coin toss.
Mhm.
Are they going to have the leg to get it? Are they going to go wide right, wide left, or are they going to split the uprights? And you never know when that kicker
No.
walks up there.
Yep.
And like you were saying, 56 yards for me, right down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And so that 16 yards is huge.
Yeah.
And that generic kicker will never get past there. We'll never get past that 40-yard mark. If we keep tweaking, I mean, Kramer kind of showed what a kicker's capable of doing once they max everything out. Now, is that going to happen with the premium that we've got on our contracts? Probably not. But you still got a 16-yard difference in there, and that is huge. You know, so I think that's where we saw that kind of saying, okay, I've got two really good wide receivers. Can I do okay with two really good wide receivers and two generic, or two really good and one low value in a generic versus that kicker? And I think that the game is more forgiving in certain areas, even on legendary. And so I as teams adjust to that, I think we're going to continue to see a even more of a shift in draft strategy. I'm hoping that we see more kickers being produced out of the minors, so we don't have this situation where we've got 28 teams and 10 kickers.
Right.
You know,
it's a huge advantage.
Yeah, it is, and
not just on extra points, but kickoffs. You know, getting the occasional touchback as opposed to always giving them the ball on the 35.
Yep, I would tell you one of the times that because I've got the game myself and I'll run soon. So I went in there and I maxed a kicker out. I was like, let's see what happens if you max out consistency, power, and accuracy. And on a kickoff, it went through the uprights. Yeah. so yeah, I mean it, and that was on legendary settings. You know, now is a kicker ever going to max all that stuff out again? Probably not. I mean, it's going to be too expensive to have someone with that high value plus a 10-point premium on the contract. But it just shows that difference that comes into it, and I think that shift in mentality is for building a team, and it's tough. I mean, you know, to sit there and say, do I take someone who is doing really good as a player on the field, who is non-existent in everything else, or do I take someone that's real active but they're lower value?
You've got to make the commitment if you're doing that.
Yeah, and the locker room has to accept the fact that the team's going to struggle. You know, until those guys progress up to the level that everybody else is. And we won't get into the minor league progressions and how that's kind of skewed things, because that could be a whole other hour conversation. But, you know, that's the problem when you get the two of us together. We've realized we can talk the hind leg off a donkey, as a saying.
Hey, man, if I didn't have to work today, we'd have a really long show.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, I have enjoyed every minute of this. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
You as well, brother.
I'm real excited about what the future is going to hold for us in Louisiana. And
it'll be fun. We have the chance to build together, to really do this together. And it's going to be a fun process. However it goes, for me, obviously, you want to win, and I want to win every game, and I want to win big. I want to leave no doubt. I always do. Right. It's not going to happen. You're going to have it not go your way sometimes.
Yep.
Got to be good with that. I feel like we're going to have a nice time working through all of that together.
And I think that's the catch. We're doing this together. I mean, you know, it was funny, even when we were on opposite sides of the field, and I don't think we ever actually played, did we?
No, I've never played. Well, I personally have played against Vegas my rookie season with Vancouver, but not when we've been, no.
Yeah, but we've always still talked.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, you were one of the first guys I talked to when I first joined the league, and that even though we kind of went like this, and to now see us together, and I remember Doug in one of the podcast you did, he was like, yeah, that's a guy I want to have a beer with.
Yeah.
That always kind of, I laugh because I don't drink alcohol anymore because of my health issues, but
Sure.
definitely have a cup of coffee. I can't make it to the convention this year, but rumor is they're going to have it in Nashville next summer.
Ooh.
And if they do, yeah, that's 6 hours away. I go to Nashville quite a bit.
That would be wonderful.
So, yeah, I used to live there. I know the
Uh-huh.
area pretty well. So we could definitely throw down something in Nashville.
See, that's one of the things I'm excited about this move that I made is, I mean, I've said this somewhere else recently too. The West Coast, I've seen it all. I've been all over the West Coast, most of it on the back of a motorcycle, riding a motorcycle. I used to do motorcycle trips all the time. But I've seen it from the ocean. I've been on boats and seen the whole coast. Haven't seen a lot of everything else. And it's funny because I'll sit here, I'll look at a map and go, oh, wait a minute, that's like 6 hours away. That's 10 hours away. That's like driving to California was for me before. Well, heck, I can do that, and I'm kind of digging that because I like, history major. I like I like seeing things. I love the idea of taking a couple of weeks and going to the East Coast and Civil War battlefields. What the heck, all that. I want to see it all, and I'm a heck of a lot closer to it than I was.
If you do head this way, Blue Ridge Parkway.
Okay.
Blue Ridge Parkway, Linville Viaduct. Yeah,
I've heard of them.
That's the Linville Viaduct is 20 minutes from me.
Okay.
Probably one of the most. It's a bridge that runs along the edge of the mountain because they couldn't cut through the mountain, and so you get the foliage from the mountain, and it's like 3,200 feet in altitude, and you see the whole valley. I mean, it's gorgeous. But yeah, that's 20 minutes from me. Grandfather Mountain. I see that every day when I go to work.
Nice.
When I do go to work. But anyway, you've got an open invitation. If you ever head this way, we'll definitely. We've got a guest room that's got your name on it.
I love it. Okay, sounds good. I got to start racking up that paid time off at work.
There we go.
Being a newbie, I don't have a lot of it yet, but I'm gonna believe me, I'm racking it up.
That's the one disadvantage of not working in the school system is we have some time in the summer. So.
Yeah.
But I need to let you go so you can get ready for work.
Sure.
Our audience is probably going, okay, you guys have been talking for like way too long. But it's worth it. Quality stuff. Coach, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you on the field. We'll definitely be talking again.
Absolutely.
And great to be in a locker room with you. So I'm going to let you kind of do your final say, and then I'll close us out here.
Hey, I don't have a whole lot to say. It's a pleasure being on your show. It feels like lately I've done more of other people's shows than my own, which is, hey, that's fine. I'm really excited for what we've got coming ahead of us. Yeehaw, let's go.
Here we go. Well, I'm with you on that. I want to thank Coach for joining me today, taking the time out of his schedule to sit down with me. And not sure who we're going to have next, but we're going to rock and roll through this roster. I want to get everybody on the team on the show. And this is what we do. We have fun, and that's I think that's the number one thing. I want everybody to be safe out there, and we'll catch you on the episode 3 of Down by the Bayou. Y'all take care.